So Law of the Jungle started, it's split into two projects. So I have one project for the intro and bridge because the project's massive. And then I have another project for the drops. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the intro and the bridge. And then after that, we're going to go into the drops. So I'll show you how I made all this. And guys, feel free to ask questions while I do this. How do you stick two project files together? It's really simple. I just export this to audio and put the audio in the other one. I'll show you that in the drop projects because the drop project is the final project. It's where I put everything. So Apollomai, are you the one who made the comment, Apollomai? Yeah, they were totally linked. I'm 27, but hashtag, let me hit you with a hashtag read the fact. Fact below with commonly asked questions. Go ahead and read that if you're curious about random stuff like how old I am and etc. You were the one, Apollomai, word. The song starts with this audio stuff. I'll just play this real quick.
This is jungle, lush, green, alive with incredible growth, as young as day, as old as time. Let me tell you how the jungle itself took the law into its own hands.
Yo, AC Games, what's up, dude? Mason, that's a great question, but it's going to distract me if I answer it. So, Blue Boa, that's a good question. And yes, the answer is yes. So I'll just break down the audio files here. I'll go from the very start. First of all, there's just a few little radio audio effects. So that's just like 4 different audio samples. And then we have this, which is a clip from this movie called Bride of the Gorilla. And Bride of the Gorilla is this old 1950s movie with like jungle stuff in it, and it's in the public domain now, so I just clipped it. And it has this background music. This is just this audio.
Lush, green, alive with incredible growth, as young as day, as old as time.
So if I just play this like all the way through, it's pretty simple.
Let me tell you how the jungle itself took the law into its own hands.
The tape stop? Which tape stop? Oh, this? That? A lot of the effects I added. So here's the effects I added. I added this little vinyl noise. That's super subtle. But then the cool thing I did here, when I also added this, by the way, I also added this little sample. And this I pitched down. I did some pitching down and then stemmed it out. In the very beginning. Yeah, Extraler, I agree. Yeah, we had a collab going, but we never finished it.
Live with incredible growth, as young.
But I'm just automating something on the Convolver, and what it's doing is that
as young as day growth.
It's the wet knob. So I'm automating the wet knob and the dry knob, and it's almost combining. What it's doing is it's sort of combining the sound of the Alive with Incredible Growth with this radio effect sound. Which gives it this weird, like, almost like phasey effect, which is, I think is pretty cool. And then I just have all these radio static sound effects that I'm fading in and out. I did play Beat Saber a lot right when it came out, but I haven't been playing a lot recently. Sorry, not right when it came out, right when I got it is what I meant to say. And then there's all these other little things. So this riser, this little thing. And then all the effects start coming in.
Into its own hands.
So little elephant sound effects, all that. So all together,
into its own hands.
We get this transition. So this thing, the wood blocks. I have another project. I'm not going to open it, but basically this was actually like 4 layers that I got from Contact from, I think, Ethno World 6. And I just got random percussion layers I could find, like random like tabla or whatever, like xylophone type things, wood blocks, etc. And I just layered like 4 of them. And then I converted them into a direct wave instrument. I don't remember exactly how you do that. I think it's like you right click, create direct wave instrument. And I think I did that on a layer of like 4 contacts. So then I basically, this is like This is like 4 different instruments layered on top of each other. It might be a marimba. I don't remember the instruments at all. So, because this was a while ago, and like even when I was doing it, I did it fast. I'm like, okay, layer these. Okay, export it. Like I didn't memorize what instruments it was. So, but to get this long note, the problem is all the notes were really short. So to get this long note, I just did a buttload of reverb, and I just exported that to audio. All right, Apollo, peace out, dude. Good to see you. And then I think here we have Morph, and I think Morph might be on still. But don't quote me on that, because I was definitely wrong about that last time. Let me see. Layering is one of the best things ever, it's true. This one, so this one I morphed. I did a morph, which is this plugin that lets you combine sounds, but I already bounced it to audio, so I can't show you the morph. But I did it with that guitar sound, so it's almost like the woodblock sounds turn into the guitar, which is like super subtle, and I probably could have just faded the two. But I thought it worked well here. And then on top of that, there's other layers. So I also have this low layer, which just kind of fills in some of the space. And then on top of that, we have this. Deadfesh, what's up, dude? Welcome. Dark Ari, what's up? Sagittarius GD, what's up, dude? So I also have this guitar layer thing. This is nylon guitar, which really fills in the space. So together, it sounds nice and thick. And by the way, this is before I mixed the track, so this sounds way worse than it does in the final version. Like it sounds way less clean, but it's still good enough to show you how it was done. DPZ, what's up, dog? Just doing the Law of the Jungle track breakdown. By the way, DPZ and anyone else wondering, for some reasons YouTube notifications aren't working today, so no one's getting notified about the stream. So that's why there's way fewer people here than usual. But you know, we'll manage. We're doing the track breakdown anyway, so it'd probably be boring for a lot of people. So this is like the best day to have a notification not work. Kim, you didn't get it either? So, there's tons of effects in this track. So here we transition. When we transition from this little, this note, we have this monkey sound, which I think is here. And I already bounced this out, but I actually use this plugin. I forget what it's called, but it's a plugin that lets you do 3D audio. So you can make it sound like it's in front of you, then to the left, then behind you, then to the right. So I did that, and I think I made it loop around a little bit. So you can hear it kind of sounds like it's in front of you to the left, and then it goes behind you and then to the right, which I thought was pretty cool. With all these effects. Whole bunch of birds and stuff, so all together it just makes it sound like jungly. So this part is it's a drum loop. So yes, I shamelessly used a drum loop, but I chop it up quite a bit. And I think this is something I found on Splice. You loved it so much when you first heard it? Hell yeah. And then another shaker loop, and this is just a untouched shaker loop, because it's a shaker loop, whatever. Then a whole bunch of samples to make this little beat. So with the shaker and with all the percussion, it sounds like this. Discord link below, my friend. Dude, Dexarson once joined a stream, and we had 120 people for a few minutes while he joined. That was pretty cool. Then Cymbals got this little gong thing, which I think is from Splice. Oh yeah, I really love this too. I really love this twinkling. So with everything, I I think it sounds dope. How to make the percussion melody? I see. I just explained that, dog. Then we have this trombone thing, which is a contact instrument. Oh, never mind. Oh, whoops, sorry. So this is a bass layer that I have layered with the trombone. The trombone's up here. So this is just helping fill in the space a little bit. But the trombone is up here. Which is just, it's from, I think, Native Instruments brass, some brass pack. And then on the top of that, we have this nylon guitar again. Just to help fill in the space. So like with the bass and everything, it sounds like this. Whoops, I did the opposite of what I wanted to do there. And then vocals, it's just this. So it's just this thing looped, and which is also from Splice, I think. And then this from, I think this is from some tribal chant pack I have. And then we just throw a little bit of these in there. Kashmir 3 Warcry. And then there you go. Now it sounds like vocally and tribal and shit. And then effects, we have this thing, which I use all throughout the track. Because it's just like atmosphere. It's like less work to just slap this in there and make it work. The trombone sounds like you farting, dude. Same. And then a whole bunch more effects, like a flying squirrel, which just sounds like some random wind. I've got this like robotic sound, but it kind of fits in the track, so it works. Bunch of whooshes, wishes, reverse things, and then all together, you know, it sounds like a little build-up thing. So there you go. All right, IC Games, peace out. Track 25. This choppy thing. So I'll show you this choppy thing real quick. Just a little faller thing, which I don't even remember like half this stuff. Looks like me if you added more fire to it. Are you like, am I like on fire right now? Am I red? I don't even know if you can hear this in context, but you know, I'm all about adding lots of details and stuff. Oh, I have automation on that too. Anyway, so now we have this part. So I'll show you the drums first. So drums, it's a lot of the same stuff as in the intro. We got the same loop, but now it's like cut off a little more because I add more instruments. And then it's a lot of the same bongos, but with just a whole lot more. So now we've added these. Bunch of snare drums. All right, NCR, peace out, dude. And of course, kick drums. So with all the percussion, it sounds like this. Bunch of fills. Then we have the final fill over here. And I'll explain more how I do those acoustic sounding fills later. The loop is something I found on Splice. If you want to look it up. Zoid percussion loop bongo 02104. There you go. Cymbals, nothing fancy, just a bunch of cymbals, reverse cymbals, fill in the space, whatever. Bass, I think we have this. And this bass is something I made in Serum, so I think it's just a basic pluck. So, oh yeah, and I love this wavetable, ooh yeah oh. It's not even a wavetable, it's just, oh, it is a wavetable. But I love it for stuff that sounds almost more acoustic. Oh, thanks, Extraler. And then what are we automating here? We're automating, we have LFO. I'm using LFO like an envelope just because I find it's easier to customize. And then we're doing the cutoff. So cutoff goes up and the FM goes up. And then effects is just a little bit of distortion, compression, nothing fancy. Hyperdimension, and hyperdimension, I do the thing which I always do, which is put dimension on, no hyper, but dimension with like size very low, like 3%, and then mix it like 40% or so. Just makes it a little bit stereo. So that's in mono. And you can hear that's a little more stereo. And then, I'm using Surfer EQ on this. Oh no, I have it uninstalled, so. Then it's going through my fat rack, which is just like Camel Crusher and sausage fattener and stuff, just to make it thick. So there's the bass. Here we have just a few random samples. Horn samples. This is where I put like melodic samples, so like horns and stuff. This is the best track, really good. Sagittarius, thanks, bro. And then we have tons of instruments here. So here we still have the wood blocks from before, from the intro, with the lower layer. We still have that nylon guitar, which just fills in the space. And then we have this woodwind instrument called a bansuri. And this is doing this. And this is a Kontakt instrument from Ethno World 6, I think. Oh no, it's from India Discover series from Native Instruments. So what this does, one thing I'm doing here is using the key switches. And these key switches just change how the note behaves. They don't make sound, but they change how the notes above it sound. So I'm just doing that to give it that, because some of these are like preset within the instrument in Kontakt. Is that Phrygian? Yeah, it is Phrygian. So that's giving it all this like pitch bend, like instead of sounding like a flat note. And of course here I do a little bit of like just an extra note there to make it like balum instead of just flat. And that's super important because a lot of people they don't pay attention to details like that, like little pitch bends and stuff. But when you do those little pitch bends, Orkin, peace out, dude. When you do those little pitch bends, it makes these instruments sound so much more interesting. So when you do it like flat, it just sucks. It's like boring. So lots of like little pitch bend, little like variations on little notes. That's the way to do it. When you have just the wood blocks, it sounds like Law of the Ocean instead of Law of the Jungle, says Deadfesh. That's hilarious. I didn't notice that, but I kind of feel that. It sounds like beach, like a crab. It sounds like a crab rave type deal. Anyway, then we have this Zeng harp, which I think is Ethno World 6. Yeah, it is. So Ethno World 6 in Kontakt. And I think I did a reverse note here, so I recorded a note and just reversed it. I'm not sure if I did reverb there or what. So that is layered with all these things. And then we also have this tuba. And I'm automating just the intensity of the tuba. And the release. So you'll see like these notes are short, like dun 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 dun, because I turn the release just way up. So all together in this part, you get this. And then I'm doing lots of little fills too, and these are also super important. So little da-da-din. Like, dude, that stuff, like little things like that make the song sound so much more interesting. So I highly advise do little details like that. And then again, we have I have these reverse wood blocks all over the place. So like that with the wood block, when you do like this, it makes it like so sick. Eastern Instruments made me feel like I took LSD, dude. Same. And then just a bunch of effects. So here I have this white noise going constantly. And that's just, I think this just has an LFO tool on it to give it like the volume going up and down. And then just a few little risers and stuff. And then we have all the jungle effects. So jungle effects, I have this sidechained just with this envelope. So it's like dun 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 coming in and out. It's just monkey sounds and stuff. But then I have all these wishes and whooshes, and I use these all the time, and I get these from Cinetool packs. So if you haven't heard of Cinetools, just look up Cinetools. They make like trailer sample packs, but their stuff is so good for like atmosphere and stuff. James Savage, welcome, dog. Retrohead, welcome. So all those little sound effects seem like small on their own, but when you combine them with the whole song, it just makes it sound so much more like there's so much more movement and liveliness. Like this. If I remove that, like it's just like that little detail makes it so much cooler. New big pack from Cinetools. Oh damn, I better check it out. So then there's one more thing I want to show you with these instruments is that there's also this layer, which also I have just random pitch automation and stuff on. So that combines with this one. So when you play them together, it's like. It sounds really interesting. So, and then I'll just play this out. Oh yeah, I forgot about this sound. So I made this crazy sound. I didn't make it. It's just, it's this instrument called Morin Kerr, which, you know, I haven't heard of half these instruments, but I use them. And also from Ethnoworld 6, and I just distorted it with Trash 2, which made it sound like a guitar. So if I turn off the Trash 2, it sounds like this. It just sounds like some kind of string instrument, but with the... But it ended up sounding really cool just for this transition. The thing is, I had a whole nother part here that I deleted. It was bad. It was way too long, way too just unnecessary. But this transition, just with this little thing, was really cool, in my opinion. Here we go. So, this part. Let me show you how I make these fills. I do these fills a lot. I like to do these acoustic fills. A lot of it isn't that crazy. It's just like random loops and stuff that I have, and I'll just like chop them up a bit. In this case, I have this this pack from Black Octopus called Really Good. The pack is literally called Really Good Drum Fills, which is hilarious. So, but anyway, it has this. I think let me see what the whole sample sounds like this. So I just chop it up a little bit. And then here's another good drum fill thing. And which I chop up a whole bunch, and then when you chop it up, and I think I did some panning on it apparently. Oh, I made it go left to right. That's kind of cool. You have a question, Elisa? Go ahead. Also, welcome, Elisa. And then also there's this little snare roll thing, which just makes it sound a little cleaner, or gives it a little swoopiness. Do I know Geometry Dash? Bro, do I know Geometry Dash? Yes, I know Geometry Dash, don't worry. So that's what the acoustic fills sound like. So then the non-acoustic stuff sounds like this. So together. There you go. Also have this little roll thing, which gives it some more space. Also, what I often do with these, which I do here, when I have a really acoustic sounding snare, I'll layer it with some like very tight stuff to make it sound just more on point, more EDM-ish. It's like here I have these have them layered with this, which just makes it sound a little more solid. And then cymbals are basic shit. And a gong, of course. Always got to fill in the empty space. It's so true, man.
People shouldn't live too long in the jungle. Brings out their bad side, jealousy, impatience.
All right, so here, let me go over the bass. The drums, there's basically no drums, so I'll just skip that. There's the gong, hits. Then we have this bass guitar thing. So this is actually 2 layers, and I think one is this bass guitar from Shreddage. I think it's Shreddage 3. I don't remember. I think it's just Shreddage Abyss. Shreddage 3 Abyss, which is like a bass guitar simulation. Not a simulation. It's not a simulation. It's like just a virtual instrument. So, and that makes it sound like more acoustic. And that's just low passed. Where's the low pass going on? So I actually have this bass guitar, and then I have this bass. Was this inspired by Riot Song? I know about Jungle Fury. I don't like Jungle Fury that much, though. It's not my favorite Riot song at all. And I don't think I was inspired by Riot. I don't totally remember. I know this song was out when I had the idea to make a jungle song, but I don't remember. I don't think I was like, oh, let me make a jungle theme song because Riot did. But like, I didn't even listen to Jungle Fury when I was making this. Like, I didn't think about it anymore. I was just like, I want to make a jungle theme song, and I did it myself. I didn't even use it. I didn't use it as a reference or anything. But Jungle Fury it's a good song, but I much prefer Riot's other stuff. I like AWOL way more, for example. What is a good way to fill in empty space besides drum fills? So I went over that a bit earlier, but it's a lot of effects. So you'll see I have all these effects going constantly. Jungle effects, little swoops, wish whooshes. A little bit of radio stuff. So when you do stuff like that, it makes it sound a lot more full. But anyway, let me continue with this bass. So when you layer these two together, and they're both low passed, it sounds very like thick, because if it was just the bass guitar, it sounds weak. But if it's just this, then it just sounds kind of boring because it lacks that acoustic feel. So I really like the layer when they're layered together. Welcome back, FK. I don't remember what is this? Oh yeah, I did like a high pitch one and just pitched it up as like a little build up, which just adds a little something. I don't even know how noticeable it is. I do a lot of stuff that like attention to details that sometimes you can't even hear anymore in the final project, but what you gonna do? So let me just show you how I made this bass then. This is fat bass A. So this is how I make all my basses basically. FM from B, just pick two random ass wavetables. I just explore wavetables, see what sounds good. FM from B, compression. I often use Seinfeld distortion. And then it sounds kind of like this without Trash 2. But then I use Trash 2, and Trash 2 is like a guitar amp simulator. And when you have Convolve on and distortion on, which is the trash knob, then you can get these like guitar simulation sounds. So in this case, just Trash 2 with a simulated guitar amp. And it makes it sound much more like a guitar. So without Trash 2, it's like this. With Trash 2 like this. There you go. FK, welcome back. I'm glad you like this song. Also, have you seen Black Octopus's new layout? It's fucking awesome. No, I haven't. That's good, because they've been desperately needing a new layout. Let me check it out. Their website was so dated. Oh yeah, this is so much better. Oh my god. This actually looks really nice. Dude, good for them. Because I was like, dude, there's so much good stuff on Black Octopus, but their website was so terrible that it probably turned so many customers away, you know? Law of the Gungle. No, it's Law of Bungle, dude. Okay, so we have risers. So, and then the vocals, just another clip from Bride of the Gorilla.
Shouldn't live too long in the jungle. Brings out their bad side, jealousies, impatience.
Little bit of reverb mix automation there to make it a little more interesting. Then, of course, all the effects. Random bird samples. A little bit of radio with the sample. Frozen Hero, what's up? So all together, sounds like this.
People shouldn't live too long in the jungle. Brings out their bad side, jealousies, impatience.
Another drum fill. This drum fill, there's the cymbals. Cymbals sound like this. I have two little quiet cymbal hits, and then it just amps up a little bit. And I have this little scrape sound, and I really like using these cymbal scrape sounds sometimes. Because they just sound cool, and they sound like demonic almost. last few words in that clip. He says people shouldn't live too long in the jungle. Brings out their bad side, their jealousies, impatience. I know it's hard to understand right at the end.
Brings out jealousies, impatience.
Jealousies, impatience.
Jealousies, impatience.
And here we have this little snare build up. This is just a Travis Barker drum kit snare loop from Splice. So that's just building up. And then we do this crazy drum fill, which is mostly just this loop, it seems like. Which I think on its own, this sounds like, let's see what this sounds like. So I just chop it up a little bit. And then I combine it with these heavy snares but I take out the transient. And then these good drum fill snares. And then all together, it sounds like this. So on its own, this would sound like bad. But when you add those echo things, it makes it sound much more lively. And then a couple toms, random tom hits. So. And there's the drums. That drum fill. There's that drum fill. Also have this little guitar thing, which makes it sound really cool. And little riser. I use lots of little risers all over the place, by the way. The other thing, in case anyone's wondering, I don't really do much drum processing on these acoustic snares or acoustic fills and stuff. Oftentimes what I'll do is I'll turn on the boost and just clip them to make them sound louder. Although in this case, I didn't do that. So I'm just kind of using them directly. And that's that. I think in the final project, I do some like saturation on all the drums to make them a little thicker. But in this case, I haven't mixed this yet, so you don't even see that yet. So next thing. Silver Fillet, if you practice, man, you could definitely make your own music, you know? Thicker, I hardly know her. Ha ha! Oh, blow boa. Got him again, dude. You did it again. All right, so now we have this build up, which I'll just play real quick. So I love this drum fill. I'll go over that in a second, but this is just more layers. That's the same bass from before, but now it's not low pass, so it sounds way like more big. And I also have this another shreddage. This is a different shreddage, and this one's just a guitar simulation, not a bass guitar simulation. Bumby would be happy. Too bad he's not here. How many beats are in the build-up? What do you mean beats? What do you mean by that? And then you combine these two. So what I'm doing here is I have these both going to this bass bus. So I have them both going to the same mixer track. You can see that here. And then I'm doing like this distortion and fattening with like Camel Crusher and Sausage Fattener and stuff. Then EQing them together and stuff like that, doing some crazy EQing. So when you do those together, it makes them sound more like one cohesive sound. Whereas if they weren't bussed together, it wouldn't sound as good. It wouldn't sound as tight. So like taking two sounds and like compressing them together makes them sound more like, oh, they're meant to be together. They're one sound. And I also have this, which I don't even remember what this is. So this is just a synth sound, and I don't remember exactly how I made this. It sounds like some kind of distorted saw. Looks like this is just a higher pitch, like detune, unison, or like unison, FM from B, distortion, hyper, the same hyper I talked about earlier, where the size is small, mix is like 40%. And then it's just volume automation, just with like Fruity Balance. So that fades in, and then all together it's like... It's that. And then on this is a crazy... This little fill thing... Actually, I'll go over this fill after. Let me do the rest of this part first. Drums is just a snare, an acoustic snare, with this layered on top just to give it a little more spice. By the way, I really liked your older music, and you're still improving with your particular style. I like my older music too. I'm going to do more stuff in my older style soon. Top of that, we have another Travis Barker drum kit, fade in. So all together. Oh, and I also have this snare, just volume coming in. So that is just giving it more, making it more interesting. And also something I'm doing here, which is kind of cool, is I took this snare and I made like 5 variants of it with just slight alterations in the pitch, and I think that might be it. But like what that does is just makes them sound slightly different. Also alterations in the volume of them. That way it just doesn't sound like one hit, like constantly. There's some variety in it. And then on top of that, we have these little snares just coming in and out and kind of giving it more spice. So that's pretty cool. It's rocket science till you look. It's rocket science until you learn, and then it makes sense. So, you know, take the time, man. Take the time to learn, and you can get good. Riser. This one is just flat, no side chaining. This one has side chaining, and together it sounds really full and thick. And then sound effects. Oh, it's another riser. I didn't even know this was here. Oh yeah, and this and then I have this, which I actually took from the Drop project, because in the Drop there's this like crazy like wah 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 like crazy dubstep sound. So I just exported that. And then put a bunch of like filters and stuff on it. So that makes it one. I did that to give some like connection from the Drop to the intro, because it was kind of like Drop coming out of nowhere, and I wanted that sound to be like grounded in something. So in the intro, you're almost like getting ready for it. You're like, oh shit, here it comes. 6 OMFG. What? I don't know what you're talking about, DPZ. You weren't trying to type 6? Oh, I see now. So all together. And then we have this fill here. And this fill, we have that little fade down. This vocal scream from Splice, which I love this. It fits so well. Trying to do an up arrow, but didn't hit shift. Ooh, DPZ. Rookie mistake. With like another like monster scream, and then this animal breath. Little fade down. Like I said, I use lots of little risers and fallers, like really short ones too. Use them all the time. Love them. Peace out, FK. The other thing is bass. So here, I actually made this in Serum, but I don't have it anymore. And I think it was just me messing around a lot with LFOs and like LFO rate. So I just did a LFO and like cutoff and stuff. And then adjusted the rate so it'd be like slow down. And then I did this little rapid fire. Oh no, I just chop. So this is just another thing like this, but I chop it up. And I like to do that a lot when I have a fill. Because this drum fill is like, so if you just have one sound like wow during that fill, it doesn't, the cuts aren't as distinct. But when you chop it up like that with the drum fill, it sounds much more like, oh, there's space here, and you can like feel the da-da-da-da. Like instead of being like, it's like da-da-da-da-da, and it just feels awesome. So if that wasn't like that, it would sound more like this. Or like this. It's like this. Sounds better. It's very subtle, but it's better. And then again, we have this. We have a low pass with some resonance on this main bass. And then just volume automation just to chop it up too with the other bass. Oh, so DPZ, I'm going to do the bridge before I do the drop, because just it's all in this project. So drop will be in like, I don't know when it'll be. This might take longer than I thought, and then I'm not sure if I'll post this as a full video. This is going to be like an 1.5 hour long video, if that, because I'm going to edit it down a bit, but Jesus Christ. Anyway, Bunch of reverse cymbals. Oh, wait. Sorry, the fill. Not done with the fill here. Cymbals, simple. This is a wacky ass drum fill, but it's literally just like, I do my drum fills just by combining a lot of like pre-made fills, one shots, and just like combine them in cool ways. So here, really fast snare roll, fade in. Those are super handy. I use them all the time. Little reverse thing. So those together make it like, which is way cooler. Hell theme song, Warzone's kind of like that. That's just like, this is just going the whole time just to make it more interesting. That's the same Travis Barker fill from before. Little kick right here. Oops. So here again, we have these, giving it some echo. But then also I'm layering this snare, and this is like a solid EDM snare. That's from Splice, Super Slick Hot Nick. Those layered, and then here it's just like one shots. Bunch of toms from random sample packs. So now next part. How do you do the thing where you just loop one sample? Oh, Alt right click. Super helpful. Alt right click. It's a game changer, DPZ. I discovered that like a year ago, but when I did, I was like, oh, this is a new world I'm entering. So here we have impacts. Fade in snare roll, and then of course some bongos or congos, which I love. You just hold it. I mean, DPZ, just try it. You'll figure it out. Alt right click, hold. So here, this is a Virtual Riot sample. It's just a little glitch thing. And then this is some other sample, which sounds dope. So combine that. This is one I made. I don't even remember how I made this, but I made this little bigga, which is probably just some like, quick cut off LFO in a serum. And then we also have the main bass. And the main bass is like, God damn it, I keep doing this. Here we go. So together. Then that continues. Here we have a lot of like melodic samples. So I use a lot of horn samples because they're kind of easier to work with a lot of the time than like doing a contact or something. For that build up, we just continue the horns and pitch them up. Nothing fancy. Even this war horn, and I have a little pitch bend on it to make it like. Then keep the pitch bend going. So to pitch bend these up, you just put it on stretch mode, and then you can use this pitch bend here. So stretch mode is real-time stretching. It's a lot more CPU intensive though, so I don't recommend it unless you want to do real-time stretching. So normally you want to use like E3 generic. E3 generic is generally good, but like stretch mode is good for real-time stretching. It also sounds worse than E3 generic in general. Yeah, it's super handy. And then here we have, these are the same instruments as before. We have horns, or a tuba, and I think the tuba's fading in, it looks like. We have this as well fading in. Oh, and I like this. I just did a bunch of notes to make it interesting. Lead. This is actually Serum. So this thing, I think I made this. This is like a happy accident. Sorry, that's not the right thing. There we go. I'm pretty sure I was just messing around and I somehow, it's just like, look, it's just this singular wave. It's nothing fancy at all with a compressor. So this Razer wavetable, I don't even know what it's from, if it's a default or what, but it sounds kind of like, it sounds almost acoustic a little bit. So it sounds like some kind of weird foreign instrument. So I layer that with this, which is an instrument from earlier. And then also one of these. And here we do some pitch bend, which makes it sound way more interesting. Everything fades in, which is really dope. Riser. Extra might have left, who knows? Extra, you still here, dog? Will T, what's up? And then we have a little bit of vocal stuff. So here, this is a monkey sound, and this monkey sound just kind of ended up sounding really cool. I have that monkey sound right before the drop, or right before the build up, I should say. And then this monkey sound ended up sounding really good pitch bending up, so I just kept it going, and it just sounds like this awesome riser. And then, of course, we have this other monkey sound coming at the end, which adds so much. And I have that pitch bend a tiny bit. Just some risers, nothing crazy. And this is the tuba bounced out and just pitch bend up. And then, of course, I already went over this. It's just a bunch of horns pitch bending up. That's a low one. That one's loud. And yeah, then together they sound really like thick and full. And then here, this kind of grounds the whole thing with some kind of melody. So if I were to take this out, just sounds empty and kind of boring, but with this, works out well. Cymbals. Again, I really love pitch bending just random shit during the build-ups. Just works really well. So I pitch them up at the last second. And then drums are, I think, pretty self-explanatory. But I'll go over this because this actually sounds more interesting than I remembered. So this is just a really tight snare that I really love from this pack. It's literally called Drum and Bass 3 on Loopmasters. They have a lot of good snares in that. This kind of tight snare gives it a lot of snap. Another Travis Barker acoustic snare. Another snare that pitch bends up. Occasional flams, so the flams just make it more interesting. Quality is really low. Was it like that before, Mason, or is it just like a current thing? Quality looks fine for me, so it's probably YouTube. And then we have this little these two layers. This layer kind of gives it space while this layer gives it a transient. So when you just hear the snares. But then on top of that, we just layer this snare roll, which again, nothing fancy, but when you put it together, impact there. And when you do that, it just sounds like it's a lot of simple stuff, but together it just sounds like this fancy, crazy drum beat. All right, Mason, peace out, dude. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being a big boomer. Thanks for hanging out during this track breakdown. All right, so the bridge. So I'm just going to skip the drops for now, and we'll do the drops after because I have two different projects here. So the bridge. Let's just listen to the whole bridge. And by the way, so this is I took out a part of the bridge, so there's this part here at the end that's not in the final track, so you'll get to hear that too.
Listen, Dina.
What is it?
A jungle.
I'll be right back while this plays.
You hear that? Sounds like music.
So here's the bridge. Or here's the explanation of the bridge. First, this horn is just some Kashmir sample. I layer it with another Bram thing I have, which sounds like shit on its own, but like as a layer, it just helps fill in the low end. So that's that. I have this random like weird bass, like pitchless sample, which is really cool. Peace out, DPZ. And then some more radio static, which is volume automation. And of course a rainforest sample. Then I just have more jungle sounds fade up. So that's that. The vocal is again something from Bride of the Gorilla.
Listen, Dina.
What is
And I have a ton of reverb automation on it, which makes it sound way more like atmospheric. Because without reverb automation, it sounds like
Listen,
this.
Dina.
What is it?
The jungle. You hear that? Sounds like music. Listen, Dina.
Onyx Loki, what's up, dog?
Listen, Dina.
Look at that big boomer green name. I love it.
Listen, Dina.
So here, the reverb automation, by the way, I think it's Valhalla Vintage Verb, and I think I've just
Listen,
automated
Dina.
the mix on it. So we have the Vintage Verb, just at like not a super crazy decay.
Listen, Dina.
What is
Oh wait,
it?
sorry, that's not the. Here we go. This is the one we're automating. So this one does have a big decay. So I have two reverbs, one just on the vocal, and then one that's like getting automated. Do you have to record everything yourself, or? No, this is from a movie called Bride of the Gorilla. It's a public domain movie, a really old movie. So this we're just automating the
Listen,
mix,
What is it?
The jungle. You hear that?
which gives it all that echo. But you don't want it to just be a flat, like very big reverb, because then it muffles you can't even understand what they're saying. So it's good to like have it cut out when they talk, come in after they talk, etc. Which you could do with like a sidechain or something. But I like to automate it because it's more visual and I can have more control over it. Bass, just have this one singular low note, which I think is Serum, and it's just some random, again, FM from B, random ass wavetables. Here it's really low passed, and hyper and compressor. And the compressor is just the normal, like, exactly what you expect, multi-band mode, etc. All right, sounds good, Loki. Peace out, EDM&M. All right, cymbals, just some crashes, drums. So the drums here, it's like a simple loop, but it's just getting low passed. And I'm using, for most of my filtering, like basic filtering, I just use Simplon from FabFilter because it's so simple and easy to use. Yeah, FL Studio costs money. So with the filters, with some resonance, sounds like this. And then, it slowly uncovers itself. And then I add some snares at the end to make it a little more impactful. And then one of these, throw in one of those, and it sounds really atmospheric. Then together, we have these, and it's just a bunch of the instruments from the intro. Now getting low passed in. Beptile, what's up, dude? Expensive? Yeah, it's $200. Well, expensive for kids, but $200 is actually really cheap for nice software. But yeah, demo version is free, so you can practice on that. So again, Simplon, low passing all these. Again, we have this reverse thing, which helps bring it in, transition it into the main part. So, let's listen. Then there's not really much to go over that I didn't go over in the intro. It's just a slightly different melody with all the same instruments. It's got this tuba. That I'm constantly automating the intensity of, which makes it sound a lot more dynamic. And then on this guitar, we also have some of these reverses that I've recorded, I think from a reverb on these. John Fundy, welcome back. So when you have these reverses, it just gives it a lot more life. So like, dun la dun dun dun. So that's very nice. Some of these reverses, woodblock reverses. So with the wood blocks, This melody, if you want to look at it, screenshot it, whatever. Yeah, John Fundy. That's okay, better late than never. This little pitch bend, by the way, is just a key switch with contact. So I'm, again, doing lots of key switching, which gives it that like bow, 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 stuff like that. Gives it a lot of life. So that's that. Also really love this. I have this, I have lots of little samples here that I'm doing just lots of pitch bend on. So, I mean, that sounds like kind of goofy on its own, but in context, it's so nice. And then, of course, one of my favorite things. I love this transition. In the free version, you can't load projects. You can save projects, but you can't load them. So if you want to work on something, you just have to keep the software open. That's the only thing. So, of course, we still have this bass. Next part. It's not dumb. They gotta make money. Effects. So, lots of effects, same stuff as before, so not much new for me to go over. This is just the same instruments as before, these two layers. So we have this and this. So together with all the instruments, all the melodic instruments. Producer version? Producer's all you need, dude. So this second part, I'm not going to go over just because it didn't end up in the final project. I had to cut a lot because I made the project just way too long. So we'll just go into the build-up. Not much new to go over. I used the instrument from that build-up in the intro as well, which is just one super simple serum. Lots of filters going on. And then I really love having stuff go down while other stuff goes up at the same time. So this song took 180 hours. 180 hours. Like 80 in this project, 100 in the other project. So it took a while. Then we have this bass fade in. Same samples as before. And here we have it fade, pitch down at the end, which sounds really cool. Cymbals, reverse cymbals. Here, this is just panning automation. Give it a little bit of movement. So here again, we have some pitch bend on these cymbals. Another cymbal comes in that pitch bends up, while this one pitch bends down. So it gives that really cool effect. Demon God, no man, I don't live stream. This is a fluke, man. I accidentally hit the go live button, whoopsie. So that's pretty cool. I really love this drum fill here. So what's going on here is, I think it's just a whole bunch of, so I actually had another part in the intro that I deleted that was like an extra 30 seconds. The intro's already super long, so it's a good thing I deleted that part. I don't even have that. I think I have it in like a really old version of this project, but I deleted it a while ago. So, but in that part, I had this drum fill, or this drum beat that's like, dung ding good is war drum beat with these kind of drums. So I just took these drums, and then the way these drums are processed isn't super crazy. I have an Ozone 8 imager on them because they often have a lot of like stereo low end, which you generally don't want. Like that's a little too much. That's actually not too bad compared to some more drum samples, but yeah, turn that down a bit. And then just like sausage fattener, just some simple stuff to compress it. EQing, really boost the highs because these they really lack highs without them. Crank, what's up, dog? Hey, Boom Kitty, my Sounds of Kashmir 3 that I cracked keeps being deleted from my computer. Any advice? Hey, man, it's not good to crack software, bro. I don't know why anything would just be getting deleted. Crank, I don't know what to tell you. It's very strange. You need to go into more detail on the problem, but ask me when I'm not doing a stream. So we do that little drum fill. By the way, I'll take this moment to go over how I organize my projects. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that at the end. At the end of the stream, or at the end of the project breakdown, I'm going to go over how I organize my template and how I organize stuff. So here we just have a bunch of drums start coming in, stuff's fading in. And here we do the flams, which I really love, which is like 2 drum hits in one. Oh, Loki, I guess I got to give you mod again, huh? Loki, did you do the second half of the homework, which was to actually like try what it said to try? Here, it's gapu boo, gapu boo, gapu, gapu, gapu. All right, cool. Achoo! Achoo! Woo! Anyway, so that's the intro and bridge. Any questions about the intro and bridge? Ooh, any questions? 180 hours. I already answered that. I think 80 for this project and 100 for the drop project. Sorry, just stretching real quick. Brass section was epic. Word, thank you. Does drinking a glass of milk make your bones stronger? Probably. I don't know. But milk is healthy. All right, so looks like no questions. Let's go to the drop. So this will take like a few minutes to load, so we can just chill for a few minutes. How do you create such a somatic orchestral feel to your songs? Is there anything special you do? Is it just contact, maybe types of reverb you recommend? There's nothing crazy about the types of reverb I do. It's generally just normal ass reverb. Just lots of reverb automation. I think it's really about sample choice and instrument choice and just composition. So like I use a lot of war drums. So like that makes it sound more cinematic. And then it's just like also lots of samples like wind and atmospheric samples. So as you saw in that intro and bridge, there's so many like jungle rainforest samples, monkey sounds, like all that stuff. John Fundy, how to make epic transitions? Well, that's a too complicated of a question. So just watch the track breakdown and you'll see. I'll tell you one thing, John Fundy. A lot of reverse sounds, a lot of details. Chop things up so that they line up with each other. So if there's like space between two sounds, emphasize that space. Blue Boa says, how do you repeat a snare in a build-up without it getting boring and repetitive? Sometimes it's just snare choice. Some snares just sound good even when they're repeated. Other times I'll do layers. So I'll do like one snare is like the main snare, and then like every other snare will have another layer. So they're like ka blah ka blah ka blah. So it's just like have one snare that is only every other hit, and that makes it more interesting. You can also do a little bit of pitch bend and stuff. So have like da 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 or da 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 da, but like super subtle pitch bend on the snares, and then the snares will sound slightly different, but not much, but just enough that it's like noticeable. Yo, Blue Boa! Oh my god, dude! Don't be oh my god, Blue Boa! No, dude. What was the other? There was another question. Do you use multiple files for songs? So I don't always do this, Levant. So I do this only for massive projects. So because Law of the Jungle was such a huge project, and I knew it was going to be a huge project, I did it from the get-go. Like I did the intro and drop separate, because otherwise it would just take all my CPU, and it would be a very confusing project, hard to keep track of what's going on. All right, we're loaded. So let's continue. Oh, Beptile. So there's a good question. Do I have a structure in mind before composing? Depends on the song. So usually I do, I'd say, because lately the way I produce is I'll have an idea in my head, then I'll try to make it. And like I almost always at least think a bit about the structure before I go in. So I'm not just like improvising the structure most of the time. I'm usually like, I have an idea in my head, then I like build a structure around it. All right, I'm like, all right, I want a bridge here, and then I want it to like go quiet here and get louder here. So I'll think about that. So it's usually in my head first. We get that you like your jungle or Egypt, but you like jazz? I like some jazz. I loved Whiplash, the movie Whiplash, and I love the song Caravan in Whiplash. I'm not really a fan of smooth jazz though. It's boring. Smooth jazz is kind of weak, if you ask me. Do it, Demon God. All right, here we go. Let's do the track breakdown. Let me just get the chat on screen here because I can't see your chat right now. HTML notebook. Oh, sneaky. You guys can see what I usually see. I usually detach this so you guys can't see the chat. Detached. Bam, gone. Not My Fucking Tempo. Oh, such a good movie. I think Whiplash is my favorite movie of all time. No. Well, you can put it in the HTML notebook. Would I watch Whiplash on? I don't know. I don't remember, Amazon or something.
Law of the Jungle. Law of the Jungle.
Thank you, Blue Boa. Yeah, Blue Boa is when he told me about that. So just a reminder, everybody, this is before I mix the songs. This sounds way worse than the final part. I've actually thought of doing like a jazz kind of song. I might do one later, but not right now. Levant, to turn on how I know it drums. I mean, I'll go over it right now. But like, it's hard for me to explain because I kind of do it from instinct. So, because I've been a drummer for like most of my life now. So I don't like think about it that much. Actually, not most of my life. I started when I was 14. So I've been doing it for 13 years, drumming.
Law of the Jungle.
All right, so let's just go over this first. This is actually a recording of me just saying Law of the Jungle.
Law of the Jungle.
And I don't have it anymore because I bounced it out. But it was a vocoder. And I think just a lot of compression, but the vocoder and like some pitch bend is what makes it this like crazy thing. So I just like recorded on this mic. I just said Law of the Jungle, and then I just did some pitch bending with Newtone, I think, and then Vocodex for that crazy effect.
Law of the Jungle.
With a little lion roar at the very end. C major, what's up? So. Then on top of that, little snare hit, pretty self-explanatory. Here, these brams are for like this whole part, and they don't really change much. These are actually like, I don't feel like these are that strong. Like I feel like it's one of the weakest part of the tracks is like the quality of these horns. I call them brams, by the way. So, I'll show you how I did these, but I don't think it's that like interesting because I don't even like how they sound that much. I think they're too phasey, but it's literally just like a lot of EQing, taking out the mids, boosting the highs, a little bit of imager to remove like, cause these lows like are pretty damn stereo. So I just make them like super mono. Fat Rack, again, it was like Camel Crusher, OTT, Sausage Fattener, Sound Goodizer, which is the Maximus. Valhalla Room for reverb, and then just another EQ just for some simple shit. So, John Fundy, I'm glad you appreciate the work, but man, if the song isn't good, Like the thing is, what I want to do business wise is optimize my time. And like Law of the Jungle, even though I'm really proud of it and I love the song, I don't think this was the best use of my time to make this song, especially considering that I made it way too long and then had to shorten it. So, John Fundy, if you don't like a song, don't worry. Like, I'm like, who cares how much work was put into it? If you don't like it, it doesn't matter because that just means I wasted time. So, I love this song and I'm proud of it, but I think I could have done it faster. I think maybe if I focused a little less on details, I could make something that's like 95% as good in less time, which is probably the way to go. So, oh no, John Fundy, don't worry about it, man. I get what you're saying. We're on the same page. Anyway, these horns, there's 3 layers here. This one's kind of giving it the low end. The others are more high end focused. And then I also balance, this is just volume automation. So I can have a little more control over when the tail ends. Because you don't want that tail going while there's other shit going on. It'll just sound cluttered. And then again, I chop this up. And by the way, if you're wondering how to get these quick fades, it's this declicking mode here. You put that on generic, then you get these little fades. And what I do is I just generally like extend this, I chop it, and then I switch to this tool, whatever it's called, the slip tool. Hold Alt, turn off snapping, and then just like move it like this. And that way you still get some tail, but it's not this like this extremely loud tail. It's much more subtle. All right, so synths. So this might take a bit to explain, I think. So this one's super simple. This is just some low, like weird saw thing. Yeah, it's literally just a simple saw with a low pass. Nothing crazy. This layer just comes in as a layer for the main lead. So I have it fade in. Some reverb mix automation gives it some detail. This lead is kind of goofy. I've gotten some mixed opinions on it. I think it sounds really good in the context of the track, but on its own, it's a little weird. But this lead is 2 layers. So what I do here is I have 2 Serum instances. I have them layered with a layer. So this layer, you say so children, you see these 2 layers. They're both on a mixer track, and then they're both going to this synth bus 1, which isn't really doing anything except volume automation. But then they're also going to another synth bus. But let me see how I'm doing this. Yeah, I have a bunch of synths bust in one plugin, in one mixer track, and then it's a lot of like fat rack, which is just compression and saturation, a little bit of EQing to remove some of the lows and stuff, and then just random like reverb and stuff. So here what's going on is we have 2 layers. One is this, which sounds like shit on its own. Then we have this, which is basically just a saw wave, if I remember right. It's a saw wave with this monster thing, also as a layer, which I don't even know what this is even doing. You can barely even hear it, so I don't know what I was doing. A little bit of phaser, which I don't remember doing. I don't even know if it's can barely tell what it's doing, but there you go. This is F sharp Phrygian dominant minor. That's the official name of the key. F sharp Phrygian dominant minor. But so when you combine these sounds like shit on their own, but together they have this cool like this really like spacey kind of sound, which I think is pretty cool. And then we also have this thing where you do this LFO. I think it's LFO 3. Yeah, so this LFO is constantly going, and what this LFO is doing is here. It's on the Matrix, LFO 3, master tuning by 3. And then I'm automating this, which is giving it that, I think it's called tremolo, where it's pitch bends rapidly, like wow, 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 wow. But then I'm automating that, which gives it way more detail. So you see, like, a flat note sounds like this. But with this automation, you hear how it's like it wobbles a little bit at the end. So that shit is very nice. This is just a timbre automation, which is just some macro. And what I usually, and it's like wavetable position, bend. I just do that all the time. Another thing to note though is that what I often do, and I'm doing it here, is I have this automation, lead A, timbre 1. I linked both of these timbres on both these layers, these macros, to that one automation. So now I use this one automation and it changes both this layer and this layer. And that just makes it a little more interesting. So that's that lead. Any questions about that lead? Go ahead and ask them. Bass. Bass fades in. I'll go over how that bass was made after. Everything else. Actually, that is everything. And then the rest is just cymbals and drums, which is just a kick and a snare, kick and a crash. This is actually a little interesting. I do a little flam here just by having 2 toms. But one hits like before. One hits a little earlier, and you get that cool like buka. And this snare is just layered with these toms just to make it like thick. Because without those toms, it just sounds weak. But with the toms, ooh, nice and thick. It's called vibrato. That's right, vibrato. Thank you. So yeah, vibrato on the lead. All right, so let's go over the drop now. Also, something else I really like here is this. That just sounds so good when it's in context. Bam! Crank, I don't need your shit right now, dog. I'm doing a track breakdown, bro, not trying to figure out what to do next. How'd you get that sound? It's just some sample. It's from the Oliver sample pack, which is on Splice, I think. Any tips in making melodies for dubstep-ish tracks? Not really. I don't do dubstep that often. So, I mean, I have general melody tips. But even melodies, I'm not actually like that good with melodies. I just know one scale really well, which is the Egyptian sounding scale, which is Phrygian dominant minor. Anyway, so here we have this bass. Let's go over this bass. So this bass. This bass sounds a lot better after I mixed it because I just made it a lot tighter. But we have this separate sub. The sub is just its own layer, and the sub is it's just a tiny wave shaper. It's nothing fancy, just a simple sub. It's like a sine wave. We just check. Yeah, just a sine wave, and that's it. Nothing crazy. Later on, actually, so not in this project file, later in the project, in one of the newer versions after I mixed it, I took out some of these notes because I realized the sub bass, there was just too much sub bass and not enough like breathing room. I don't recommend having every note have the sub because it just sounds like too full. Not too full, too like your ears have no space to rest, which is kind of lame. But this bass is a lot more interesting, so here we go. Here we have 2 layers. Then we have this layer. So this layer is meant to just give it a lot more space. C major. What do you mean, can you pronounce your name? It actually is Phrygian dominant. Yeah, my music theory shit. So I don't really care about the music theory, man. Like, I think it's so unnecessary to know a lot of this lingo. So I just know what I know. So these together make that cool sound. So the way this bass is done, these 2 layers. So again, my basses are almost always just random wavetables, FM from B, hyperdimension. Oftentimes I use sinefold distortion, not always. And then Trash 2 is what gives it that guitar sound. So Trash 2 with the convolver turned on. In this case, we have them both going to a bus. It's like, first of all, let me just show you. Without Trash 2, it sounds like this. With Trash 2, it sounds like that. Trash 2 is at 50% mix, by the way. Yeah, that's the gist of it. I mean, it's just singular notes. It's nothing crazy. Again, it's the fat rack, some subtle EQing. Let me just see what EQing we're doing. Let me just see, just this layer. First, it has this. I'm just boosting the main note. So this is like meant to boost the F sharp, just because that's the fundamental note. Then cutting out some mids. This is just volume. Then more EQ here. And then this fattening. So by the way, so what's going on here is, well, I have these basses routed to these buses, and it's kind of like chaos, and I kind of fucked this part up. So like this is routed to this trash one, then this is routed to this one. So it's like this, it's called bass bus 1 trash, and then it goes into this fat, and then it goes into this, just because I have so many effects going on. And it was just kind of like, I did this so chaotically, and then I had to kind of work with it, which kind of sucks. Now I usually try to do as many effects as possible on just individual like layers. So like here's this layer, do as many effects as possible, then maybe route the 2 layers together and just compress them, and that's it. So this timbre automation is the same thing I explained before, where it's just like some random like macro, wavetable position, bend, and then just like makes it a little more interesting. The compression is just the fat rack stuff, which is literally just Camel Crusher OTT, Sausage Fattener. It's really nothing fancy. It's just like turn the compressor on fat mode, turn it up. Like, so I'm just kind of doing whatever the default is. It's nothing fancy. Imager is tightening the lows up a little bit because the lows are too spread out. By the way I do basses now, I do them much cleaner than this. I think I kind of like, this was when my mixing was still like getting better. So the way I handled the bass isn't the way I'd handle it now. Now I do a much more mono layer. And then don't listen to Crank's tracks. Don't listen to him. But I usually do a much more mono layer just on the low end, just to like keep everything together. So I wouldn't need the imager on my new tracks, on my new stuff. Drums. God, I'm getting so tired right now. OTT and distortion, dude, that's all you need. Like, what else could you possibly need? Whew. Oh. All right, so drums. Kick. It's just a kick. Let me show you how I do my side chaining, actually. I'm not sure how I might do my side chaining differently than I used to when I started this track. Let me see. Yes, this is kind of weird. I bought this plugin called Track Spacer, which is like an EQ, like a multi-bit, or it's like an EQ sidechain. Oh, you can't even, is it even working right now? I don't even know if it's working right now. So, but basically what this plugin would do is like, it would make an EQ curve. You could kind of see it that would match the kick. So it'd be like really heavy in the low end, then lighter in the high end. And then it would apply that EQ to the sound. So it'd be like an EQ sidechain that only cut out the frequencies at the intensity that the kick hits at. That way it's a little bit cleaner. But now I just use Pro MB from FabFilter for multiband sidechaining, which I think is way better. So it's just way easier because this plugin, like, it's just like wonky, and sometimes it doesn't sound the way you want it to, and I don't know. But that's what I did here, and then just a fruity limiter. Oh, I know why it's not showing. It's just because I don't have the bass turned on. Here we go. So fruity limiter, normal sidechaining, and then you can see how it's cutting out with the kick. The other thing I would do here is, I know it's Guzma. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but I know you're Guzma. So the other thing with the side chaining is I just have a peak controller turning on Track Spacer only when the kick hits, just because otherwise it would last a little too long. So if you don't know how to use peak controller, you should look that up. It's very handy. Little sound effects, self-explanatory. So here we have this mob sound, which I'm using just as like a general like noise filler. All right, Crank says new music, but Crank's opinion, let's not take that too seriously. By the way, anyone new here, Crank aka Guzma talks a lot of shit, so like that's why I make fun of him a little bit. Because he talks shit about me. Tells me to like, oh, I need to try new things and like try new bass sound. Like, how ridiculous. I should just use the same bass sound for the rest of my life in all my music. That's the key to creativity. Anyway, this mob sounds, LFO tool, volume automation, just fills in the space. So if you turn that off, it sounds kind of empty. It sounds really empty when everything's muted. But with the sound, sounds a lot more full. Anyway, there's that bass. So, by the way, this is before I mixed it. This sounds so much worse than the final mix, but let me show you this anyway. Something I do here, and one of the reasons I have this bass bus more effects is that I have these EQs, and you'll see they're all turned off. But what I do here is I turn them on only for certain moments as like a sidechain. So like, when I have the basses going and this lead going, let me just turn up this lead. It's so quiet here. So we have this lead and the bass going at the same time. So what I do is I have these EQs that are off and I just turn them on with a volume automation, which you can see here. Not volume automation, mix automation. And what that's doing is giving it a little bit of space. I probably adjusted these EQs quite a bit when I did the final mixing process, but all it's doing is like, since this lead, you see this lead is very heavy right here in the highs, and then like here in like the mids. So I cut out some of those mids and some of those highs in the same spot. That way they kind of fit together like a puzzle a little more. So that's very handy. So I do that a lot. So I have two other EQs like that. One for the screech noise, which is this thing that happens later. So you see the screech EQ turns on when that comes in, which is really weird because I actually do a little boost there, but yeah. John Fundy says, I'm trying to find a new signature bass sound. I was thinking I would most likely use acid as the main backbone of the bass. Should I do that? You can try it, dude. Try it, dude. No harm in trying. So yeah. Other thing is when this happens, we have these little, this string, which is a contact instrument. I don't remember what. Check. String ensemble. I think it's just something from Native Instruments. Then lots of pitch bend on it. So like, I have that goes like, damn. Then again, these brams. And then the brams are also getting sidechained to the kick so that they're not too intense. Mob sound continues. No real effects here otherwise. Nothing crazy. It's all in the drums and stuff. I agree with Guzma. Yeah, actually. AKA Crank. Yeah. Because what happens is when you try to just make music that you like, you naturally kind of develop your own style. You don't need to worry about like, let me make a signature sound. If you make what you like, you'll naturally develop a signature sound, I think. That's what happened to me. Because like these basses, even though it is my signature sound, I never planned for it to be my signature sound. I was just like, I like these basses. That's my opinion. It's just like, oh, I really like these basses, so I'm going to make these basses. Oh, and I know how to make them now, so it's easy to make them for me. So it's like, that's how these things go. So this screechy sound. By the way, one more thing I'll show you is that I have a few bass layers here. I have a different bass, which again is just like a Serum FM from B trash, like same old thing, but it's just slightly different. And I EQ it differently to go with the horns. So anytime the horns hit here, you'll see it uses that other bass. That way I can layer them better. And then I have this another bass sound that's a little more mono than this one. which again is made the same way. FM from B, random wavetables, compress, distort, trash 2, nothing crazy. And then here another weird bass. Or here I use the intro bass. So again, I'm just kind of alternating between all these little bass, slightly different bass sounds. And when you do that, it just sounds more interesting. The basses are constantly, even though it's kind of the same, they have this little shift in timbre and stuff that makes it interesting. Nobody, what's up? What's the glide on the Serum Synths? What do you mean, what's the glide? Oh, what's it set to? Like here, I almost always set it to 250 milliseconds, if that's what you mean, the Porta. I'm not sure what you mean though. And I have mono and like whatever turned on. Mono and legato. Let me go over the drums real quick. The drums aren't anything fancy. It's this snare layer kind of grounds it, gives it that attack. This one gives it a little more low end in the attack, and then I have this one, this AU5 snare, giving it like the main like decay. Cymbals, etc. Peace out, John Fundy. Okay, so anything else I had to show here? I don't think so. So let's do these screeches. These, again, I'm not usually good at making stuff like this, but I think these came out really well, and I was just kind of fucking around. I think UB might have helped me a little bit. This is 2 layers. There's this one. Let me turn the reverb off. So we have this, which I think is made by just 2 saw waves. One's +1 octave, and I think there's a lot of pitch bend going on. What is automating this? Matrix. I don't even remember how I made this so long ago. Oh yeah, so I have envelope 2. Envelope 2 is kind of messing with the pitch on these. Are you making it change every other note? I'll show you in a sec. I mean, this is just it's just going up and down. So this layer has more pitch to it. And what's timbre doing? I think this is just pitch. Timbre's doing pitch bend. Then we have distortion. You can just look at these effects. A little bit of flanger. I'm not sure what this reverb's doing. I made this so long ago, I barely remember. Oh, this might have been a preset. So it looks like this might have started as a preset. I know I edited it quite a bit though. But since that has a name, it's likely I started this as a preset. So, Olax, what's up, dog? So there's that. Then there's the other layer. This is like the main layer. And there's this LFO, which is acting like an envelope, which is just doing some random pitch bend stuff. This is an FM from B, lots of unison, saw wave on Os B, +1 octave, but then this is -2 octaves. Thanks, Olax. Yeah, I think it's a dope sound. And this I made myself, so I'm proud of that. And then what's this doing? This is automating the pitch of these. And then is there something doing the master pitch? I think there might be. Maybe not. Let me see if I bypass. Yeah, so this is doing the main pitch bend. It's just this one LFO. Because if I bypass it, it sounds a lot more tonal when I activate it. So when you turn these 2 layers on together. But you notice it still sounds like shit. By the way, so the effects on this, Trash 2 is just doing a saturation, I think. Or like this Rusty Bits distortion. Which I'm not even sure what that's doing, but it's helping a bit. Cut out the low end, pretty simple. Fat rack, but then we have this big reverb. And so this sounds like shit. How do you bypass LFOs? Right click, bypass. Easy peasy. You can't see the right click menu on this video, unfortunately. But then the key to this sound is reverb automation. So I have this big Valhalla room that's at 3.5 seconds of decay, 100% depth, big high cut, or I should say small high cut, and just automating the mix of it. And that's what makes it sound good. Without the reverb automation, this sounds like dull and weird. But with automation, that sounds really cool. So reverb automation, very handy. So let me go over this fill real quick. This, again, more monkey sounds. Always do monkey sounds, even if it's not jungle themed. Monkey sounds are the key to good music, so just keep that in mind. Write that down, Blue Boa, if you're still taking notes. Little riser. Little bit of strings. All right, so here we have the screech. Then I have this little sound, which some random, like some simple, very simple patch. And then here I have, I think this is a Virtual Riot glitch sound, and I'm just pitching it down while chopping it up like crazy. And that gives it that little effect. Which you can barely even hear in the context of the song. And then another lead, and I think this lead's just a similar lead to the other one. It's a slightly different lead, but it works. And then I have this. Another cool lead. And that lead comes in more later. It's actually up here. I don't know why this is down there. You do you, Crank. And then we have this bass, fat bass C, which is like, I use it for like long notes, so I have this fat bass C over here. With some timbre automation, or whatever, I don't know what that is. Some automation. Again, there's another Serum FM from B, Trash 2, nothing fancy. I'm doing a bunch of automation, including pitch bend down, timbre automation, which again is just some macro on like a wavetable and shit. Sounds like Mick Gordon's Hellwalker? Hell yeah. So when you do that, gives it this nice little fill. Crank, I don't do that. I don't think I use that Reese in this song. I have that in another song. Will you keep this stream as public unlisted? Need to leave in a few minutes, but I really want to watch this back later. Olax, yeah, I'm gonna post this as a video, I think. I might edit it, then post it as a video. That's the plan anyway. But no matter what, it'll be in the stream history. So you can check out the stream history. And this is a cool fill. There's a bunch of snares. Also, it has these little low tom things, which add a lot. So if I take those out, it sounds like kind of shitty, but with them, it just sounds a little more full. Then random snares, but all together, sounds very nice. Bunch of cymbals, fills in the space. What's your question, Crank? You don't need to say, I have a question. You can just ask your question. How do you decide on the volume for things? Literally it's just practice, using your ears and like try to figure out what you want them to pay attention to. Like, it's really like, what do I really want to pay attention to right now? And then make sure that's the loudest element. Because like, you don't want them to pay attention to 8 things at once, which is actually a critique I get on this song, is that there's too much going on, which, I think is fair. But anyway, let me go over this part. So here we have the same horns as before. Then we also have this, which is some random brass cymbal from Kashmir, but I also automate the pitch and volume, which gives it that mwah, mwah, rather than just like a flat note. Then I also have this reverse thing. So together it's like. We also have this, which I already stemmed out, so I can't show you, but it's just some random flute sound. And then this synth with some reverb automation to make it interesting. Sounds a lot better with reverb automation. So again, this is just using the basses I've made and just using them like in weird ways to sound interesting. So just alternating between different types of basses. Drums are pretty self-explanatory. Oh yeah, I have this cowbell cymbal, Lev 3 Organic Perk Cowbell 11. But it has a nice tone to it. So layered with the drums gives it that nice like bang. Flute, what's up? Something I really love is this drum part here. So I love having this ride cymbal with this part. It's kind of quiet, but like in the final song, it's more noticeable. Yeah, I love that. Another thing, by the way, of drums is I do lots of switching between different hi-hat samples and like different crash cymbals. So you'll see here, there's this hi-hat. We have this hi-hat on the left. This hi-hat kind of in the middle. So having different hi-hats like that just makes it sound more interesting, like when it alternates between parts. All right, this is pretty self-explanatory. I think it's the same stuff as before. It's got that screech bass. These little war drums. And there you go. I don't think there's anything to really go over here. Lots of sound effects. Thanks, flute. Little riser. And then this whole part I ended up deleting because it just made the drop way too long. But I'll play it for you to anyone who hasn't heard it. So I'll just play I'll play it from here. Dude, Blue Boa, we showed it to people. People got bored. Like, you could see people get bored during the song, dude. It was too long. This part, I think, is kind of forgettable. I mean, it's good, but it's like, who cares? But this part's dope as fuck, I agree. I would not get bored of that yet. Listen, I was gonna release an extended mix just as like a private SoundCloud link and just post it around. But I don't know. This part was so hard to mix when I was trying to mix it. It was just taking so long. I was just like, oh my God, fuck this. Like, I just took it out. I do think this part is super cool, and a part of me wishes I had kept it. Yeah, I'll admit it. But I think it ended up fine. But I'll quickly go over how I made this part anyway, just very quickly. It's just a bunch of strings and horns. So this is violins, chords. Then we have this serum layer. DPC, welcome back. And there, it's just a porta or legato mono pitch bend, like just the default, just by layering notes. Then I have the velocity linked to just the volume. That way I could just easily make quieter notes. And that just kind of fills in the space. Then we have the trombones. Thanks, Olex. Yeah, I don't know. I can make something like it, you know? I do love the idea. I am, a part of me is disappointed that I got rid of it. The other cool thing about this part, well, this bass is pretty cool. Which is just a whole lot of basses, nothing, growls, whatever. But the drums are really cool here. So this is just some random loop. So that's cool. A few other loops. Just a bunch of samples combined together. And the other cool thing is the snares have lots of these layers on them. From the Hell Drums pack from Cinetools. Blue Boa will be familiar. So having those different layers just makes it a little more interesting. And then I also love this. Yeah, there's fewer people here because notifications aren't working today. No one got notified of the stream. So it's just kind of like people see it on their subscription feed, they'll show up. Also, I'm doing a track breakdown, which I think is only producers will care about. So anyway, any questions about that? Any questions so far? Anybody? Can you solo those strings in the first half? I have some questions about those. Yeah, sure. You mean first half of the second drop? These strings, just these? It is indeed, Olex. Quite clever. Oh, there's also a choir here. Let me just show you that. The choir's dope. I think this is Ethno World Voices. Oh, that's so nice. I am manually automating vibrato because it would just be hard otherwise. So I just do like the wave, you can't see the right click menu, but the wave automation and just do it. This is Native Instruments String Ensemble. Symphony Essentials, Native Instruments Symphony Essentials String Ensemble. And I think it's just like the normal, like, I think there's literally one called String Ensemble Essential. And I think it's just that. Or no, it's violins. It's violins. Martin Gamer, what's up? LB123, what's up? Minch, Stico. Which one of your songs do you like most, had the most fun making? Probably Burning Sands, but I'll go more into that later. Only Law of the Jungle questions right now. Dude, the Law of the contact instrument, or the contact, yeah, the contact interface sucks. I agree. Was that your only question, Blue Boa? No, I think it's just. Oh, I'm doing this stupid thing. This thing. Somebody on Discord made this thing in Patcher that lets you, it like real time center something. So if something is a little pan to the left, it'll like move it to the right, which is really, it's useful just because so many contact libraries are like pan to the left and it's really fucking annoying. So I just have that on there. Some EQing, which is crazy boosting the highs because usually the highs are really low on contact instruments. I have 2 EQs boosting the highs for some reason. And then just Fat Rack reverb. So there's nothing like super fancy. Did you inspired in something to do Law of the Jungle? I mean, I just had an idea in my head and I wanted to make it. So that was basically what inspired me. Any other questions about this part? Legato shit? I don't think so. They're just going into each other. Oh, there's some with like automation, and sometimes I just have the notes like a little extended. Like in this case, having that note come in a little early sounds kind of quirky. Oh, there's this layer is doing legato. Sorry. So this layer kind of gives it the legato. Quirky, that's the word I'm looking for. All right, let's move on.
Law of the jungle.
Let's go.
God, this part sounds so much better after I mixed it.
Let's go.
So here we have just some random filtering and shit. Little note come in there. Yeah, I don't think I streamed the drum and bass part. I think you're right. Filtering is just Simplon from FabFilter. Just Simplon with like you take a look. See, resonance is going up. Simple. And that gives it that bow bow bow.
Let's go.
Red IG, we're still going, man. Luke Vlogs, what's up?
Let's go.
All right, drums. Let's do drums real quick. It's pretty simple. It's just the same, basically the same drums as before. A few different layers with some hi-hats. One thing interesting about the hi-hats is I also have a snare layered with them, which makes them sound a lot more like tight. Without the snares like this. With the snares like this. So it makes you feel the impact of those hi-hats a lot more. All right, Luke Vlogs, no more GAG spam. So that bass is pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about it, let me know, but I think I've basically gone over everything here. There's a little bit of reverb automation, which is kind of cool, which just kind of fills in this space. Like you hear that little reverb. That's just a little something quirky. Here's where it gets more interesting. The leads are all over the place, as you can see. So we have 2 leads here mainly. I also have this audio bounced out. So that gives a little fade. I don't remember how I did that little reverb. I think that might be within Serum. Which, so I guess this is automating something with the reverb, and it's giving it that like, which is kind of cool. Wait, let me get in on this real quick. Okay, I'm back. So that's kind of cool. This lead is just, let's see what it is. We got hyper, the reverb, which is just getting automated. Compression, EQ is just cutting out some of the highs. And let's see, it's a sine wave sub, which I think is just giving it some space, more low passing. It's just a lot of unison, FM from beats, some random wavetables, and it sounded like this. So much of my sound design is just random wavetables, FM from beat, try something, and it just works. So reverb automation, as usual. So you hear that, how here it's like, din, din. And I have another knob, or another macro. This macro is just automating wavetable position and bend, which lets you do some stuff like that, like how it just changes a little bit. And here I also have a filter automating down to make it cut off, and I'm just doing that with a filter because I think it like made it more interesting. Hell yeah, LB. And then pitch bend is happening just from mono legato mode with Porta on. So like that's how I got that like. This other lead is the same lead as before, and I don't remember exactly what I'm doing to it. The reverb automation is cool. So also I'm automating because there's release and there's release and reverb and stuff before this. Could you play the main melody from the second part? I don't know what part you're talking about, Slick Nick. So I'm cutting out the volume in these in-between parts just to make space. And then I have reverb automation kind of filling it back in. And then the reverb automation swooping up right before the next note. And that kind of gives it like a sweep effect. So it's like, Lenton. Yo, Icy Games, you know what I mean, man. You know what I'm talking about, yeah. Reverb automation, just random, and then again the, what's it called again? What's the, tremolo? What's it called when you automate, when the pitch goes, what's that called? Not tremolo, what's it called? Not legato. Vibrato, thank you. Yeah, vibrato. Anyways, that's the leads. And then the other cool thing here is we have all these horns. Which is just a bunch of random ass horn samples that I changed the pitch and bend on. Then also just some random synth samples. And this actually like made this part good because I remember I was experimenting with drum and bass and it didn't sound that good. Also, I love this. Very subtle, but adds a lot. But like if you mute these things, like it's not bad, but then with them, sounds so much more interesting. Here we have this little whistling sound from Contact, trumpets. This is reverse horn with pitch automation. Little downer. More effects. This is just a filter. Filter and resonance automation. Bro, that's my secret video, Icy Games, bro. Little bit of screechiness there. Drum fill is cool. I've already gone over how I do my drums though, so that's self-explanatory. And here, like, shit cuts out for a second. You reported the moderator? What? What do you mean you reported the moderator? Which moderator? There's multiple moderators in here. Well, why'd you report him? What did he do? Post an up arrow? For timing him out. Oh no, Blue Boa, you're gonna get banned. How dare you time somebody out? Luke Vlogs, don't report my mods, dude. Okay, you know what, Luke Vlogs, I'm gonna report you. I'm reporting you for reporting my moderator, dude. That was you effed up, dude. You're gonna get banned from YouTube. All right, you're reported. Consider yourself reported. Any questions about this part? This part's just like a different melody from before. Slightly different melody. Boom! What is this? I guess I just wanted some extra reverb there, so. Lots of reverb there. I want to show you guys this part. If you mute the bass on this part, it sounds so good. And if I turn this up, hang on, like this part. I think it sounds better in the new mix. With these chords coming in, or the choirs coming in, I should say. Oh, I just love that. No new big boomers today, dude. Dude, the stream's so small today. No one's gonna join today, I don't think. Yes, Icy Games. So this is another example of those effects I do where I chop them up to match kind of the drums and stuff. Because these are all chopped up to be like dun 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 dun, which gives it like. These sound a little more like tight. And this is a copy paste of the last part. Sorry, the part from the first drop. I don't think there's anything new there either. So, any questions? Because I think that's the full breakdown. I don't think there's anything else to go over because, I mean, these parts are kind of very similar to the first half of the drop, or the first drop, I should say. So, it's not really much to go over. DPZ, man. Do a challenge. Also, dude, I mean, I honestly, the number one thing is if you're low on motivation and inspiration, just do daily 30s. I find that helps me so much. I'll just tell you guys. So if you look below, there's a link to Bass Academy, which is our producer server. You have to be a producer to join it. You don't have to be good, but you do have to produce. But the daily 30 is just 30 minutes on something new. It's very simple. I have tried that Icy Games. It's horrible. There's a reason I don't do it. No, not for a track, just anything new. Doesn't have to be a track. It can be like just trying new sounds, whatever.